The history of Oracle and the Oracle Relational Database. The first version of the Oracle Corporation was a company called RSI. In 1979, they released the first version of Oracle, including use of SQL, Structured Query Language. This version was actually version 2 of Oracle, but that's besides the point. In the early 80s, Oracle came up with a few new ideas, which increased marketability, usefulness. Let's try not to confuse the use of the word marketability. By marketability, I'm implying that the product is useful to a larger number of people, rather than actually just selling it to make loads of money, which is obviously the objective as well. In the early 80s, RSI decided to rename itself to Oracle Corporation. This was something to do with confusion between the name of their company and another. One of the really important things they did in the early 80s was cross-platform compatibility. This means that Oracle could be used as a database on multiple platforms such as VAX, VMS, Unix, etc. They also created portable toolsets. In other words, the tools and the bits and pieces that were used with Oracle to manage the database, access data, etc. could be used across different platforms. It's difficult to understand that these days, since that sort of thing is all taken for granted, but in those days it was a big leap. In the mid-80s, the client-server architecture environment came along. Oracle catered for it. They also created fourth-generation languages, which is what 4GL means here. In the late 80s, Oracle really came to fruition by creating financial applications. Financial applications was the start of Oracle selling customers, or providing to customers the ability to not have to go and develop their own software and spend an absolute fortune creating custom-built applications. By providing customers with a financial application, customers are given a more or less out-of-the-box, not necessarily shrink-back, but out-of-the-box, very close to being ready application, usable. They don't have to create their own departments to develop their own software. Also in the late 80s, Oracle 6 was introduced and PL/SQL was first introduced. In the early 90s, Oracle 7 was introduced. Aspects of Oracle 7 which were introduced in the early 90s included referential integrity, very important for relational databases, cost-based statistics and optimization, very important for tuning and speed. Clustering. Clustering implies placing a database on many machines at once. This implies scalability. In other words, you can make your databases much bigger and able to handle a much larger load. In the mid-90s, the Oracle 8 database came along. Oracle 8 was effectively the object relational database. Also, the application server was introduced, and the thin client, which is getting to the point where storage is not required on a client machine. Client machines become cheaper. It's gradually moving towards use of internet browsers, the internet. Much lower cost in terms of having to buy lots and lots of very high-powered client machines. The PC sits on your desk. In the late 90s, the Oracle 8i Intranet database was introduced. The Intranet database is effectively allows for a large number of users to connect. It's sharing and pooling of resources. Also in the late 90s, Oracle introduced what I call the database kernel embedded Java virtual machine. This embedded JVM allows you to create stored procedures or procedural code in the database itself written in Java. It may be apparent to some people that this could be slow. Yes, it could be, but it's also very powerful in terms of coding power. There is, however, an addition to the database kernel embedded JVM where Java code can actually be compiled into binary. It's called the Java Accelerator, and it can make that Java executable code extremely fast. In other words, it does no longer execute inside the Java virtual machine. It can be made to execute as a piece of compiled binary code. Y2K+, the year 2000 and beyond. Oracle 9i was introduced. There's a lot of middle-tier development around and after the year 2000, Oracle 9.0 is the next generation on top of the Oracle 8i Internet Database.